Three. Hello, welcome to another edition of the C Squared podcast. This is Curtis, your host, and I'm here with my co-host, Aaliyah, and we are here today to speak with James Shotwell of Helix.
Hi. Sorry.
Many different publications. He's going to be here to spill knowledge about his favorite things, social media, plus a whole bunch of other things that he's just going to grace us with knowledge bombs all day, all night. And with that, thank you, James, for joining us.
No problem. Happy to be here.
Great. So we're going to start off with Aaliyah taking over the lead.
Well, James, I know you work at Helix, which some people don't even know what that is, but could you go into a little detail about who you are and what you do within the music industry?
Yeah, of course. I am the Director of Customer Engagement for Helix. We are a promotional music distribution platform. What that means in the simplest terms is that we are a service used by industry professionals to share new and unreleased music with a wide variety of tastemakers, be that members of the journalistic community, people on radio, YouTubers, TikTokers, sync, anything in between. We are the service that people use to get music to those people ahead of release and sometimes after release, depending on the use.
I haven't heard of it being so much used after a release. Can you go into some of the situations where it may be used after the release?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Well, one of the more popular ways, and it's becoming increasingly important to the industry at large, is licensing and any sync opportunities. So there are several clients that use us almost exclusively to pitch their music to, the NFL or WWE or whatever that happens to be. I mean, when you're pitching to somebody like that, more often than not, you're not pitching, let's say, an album. Usually you are pitching like a playlist of artists. So if you're, Better Noise Music, for example, you would kind of create a promo or a playlist that will all of the latest stuff from your artists, trying to pitch them to the NFL. And that's something that would run for months, not just before an album comes out.
Gotcha. Anything on that, Curtis?
No, I think I'm good. I think I'm good on that one because sense to me. But actually, you know what? I am going to follow it up with something. James, is there any other way that people can use Helix other than the regular thing that we do with promos and the sync placements, or is that about it?
Oh, no. I mean, people come up with creative ways to use it all the time. Three examples that I really love are there's an artist named Josh Orange. It's a band, but it's called Josh Orange. It's from Australia, and they used Helix as their EPK, for lack of a better word. They had recorded some new songs. They were looking for, management, somewhere for their music and those songs to live. So they actually started a Helix account and used it to pitch management, pitch booking, pitch labels, and they actually got all three out of the deal, plus a charting single. So that's one good example. A second would be listening parties. A cool thing about Helix is we do have private, you can kind of host a private event if you want to. The links are secure, so only the people that you want to receive music will get access to it. So some artists will run a competition, or maybe if you pre-order their album, they'll give you access to the record a little early. So Demon Hunter, a band that's on Solid State, they've been around for a while. On their most recent cycle, I believe that they self-funded their records through Patreon. So if you were a Patreon contributor, they added you to their Helix account, and then a few days before the album was available to everyone, they sent a stream-only promo out to all those people on the Patreon to let them hear the record early without worrying about it necessarily leaking. And then for a third example, before my mind completely falls off, I'll give you two more. One is that people use it to promote books and other pieces of media. I mean, you can embed videos and you can add PDFs to a Helix promo. I got a book in my inbox today through Helix from someone, usually music biographies, it kind of ties in. And then the last way, Slipknot, probably a band most of us have heard of, uses Helix in an interesting way. So all the members of Slipknot do not live next to each other. And over the course of the last year, especially, it's been very hard for 9 people to get into the same room together. So they use Helix by maintaining an account where they can work on music. So, whoever's, so somebody uploads the drum tracks and sends them out to the rest of the band. And then somebody can upload a guitar idea or a bass idea, or Corey can upload his vocal mixes. And over time, they can start to at least build demos remotely so that when they get to the studio to actually make the proper record, they've pretty much worked out who's doing what.
Interesting. One more question that I actually had that I wanted to ask: when are you guys going to let us be able to do press releases through Helix?
Some people are already doing press releases through Helix, Curtis. You just have to be creative. But we are working on a dedicated press release tool. It is in the pipeline, probably a 2022 release at this point. We have some pretty large projects that are in front of it at this point in time.
Cool. I've been waiting for it, so that's why I was asking. I'm done with my follow-up, Aaliyah.
Okay. Well, that brings up just how out of the box you think, and I find that that's this is kind of going into the YouTube channel that you run for Helix. And you make all these great videos with ideas I would never have thought of on my own. And I think every musician and every indie musician should definitely check out your YouTube channel. But how do you come up with these ideas, like for how to talk about collabing with other artists, like you did a couple days ago on your YouTube? And where do you get these from?
That's a good question. Well, our channel is called Musicviz. It's Musicviz. We have no association with the Musicviz Association, but they haven't asked for the name yet, so I think we're going to keep it. So the channel, yeah. So when I started at Helix 8-9 years ago, almost at this point, when I was applying for the job, they basically asked, they didn't have a marketing person. So they were like, what would you do to build our brand? And I thought that there was a really big space really big space in the community at that time for advice and to, I always want, I feel like Helix is a gathering point for a certain part of the music industry. So all tastemakers, publicists, record labels, management, all these people are using Helix, and they're all kind of crossing paths every single day, but it's a lot like ships in the night. They don't really know that each other are there. So I thought that our blog and our social presence could really act as something of a gathering point or a communal point or a water cooler for our corner of the industry, where we could talk about what's going on and try to learn from each other and hopefully get a little bit closer along the way. And we ran the blog, we still run the blog. It's helixdaily.com. And I'm the only person that writes for it, and I've written for it all this time. But a few years ago, I realized that, not everyone likes to read. So why not repurpose some of these ideas as YouTube videos? And then from there, it was like, okay, well, now I need to make new content. So I keep a note in the Apple Notes app that's filled with ideas, but I also read a lot. So I read Flypaper, I read Hypebot, I read Burstimo, I watch Damian Keys on YouTube. I try to kind of see what everyone else is talking about. So, NFTs, for example, we haven't really done a video on those because I don't personally understand them that well, but I do, but I do watch stuff on it. So collaboration is a thing where I work with an artist called a band called You, Me, and Everyone We Know. And on their most recent album, which we self-funded, we got some guest features, but it really gave me like a first person perspective on what that process is like and how it's really different for every artist and every project, right? Like if I want my buddy who's in a local band on my song, that's basically, that's a text message. If I want my buddy who's signed to a major record label, that's paperwork, that's lawyers, that's phone calls, that's emails. And so I've just been thinking a lot about like how many different ways people collaborate and all the red tape that exists. And I wanted to try to find a way that was like, what are the easiest ways that we can collaborate that doesn't require, giant investment of your money or a lot of red tape. So, that for that example specifically, that's where that comes from. And I also just like to try to, I'm curious about the industry. Like my favorite thing in the world is industry news and trends. And I'm a big numbers nerd. Like I love to see, sales data, streaming data and stuff like that. So I just, it's what I'm passionate about. So it makes it pretty easy to come up with ways to talk about it.
Thanks. Yeah, you really seem to have your finger on the pulse of like all the new technologies and software out there. Real quick, I wanted to ask, I saw a blog article about this in a marketing blog today about using Clubhouse. Have you looked into using Clubhouse at all?
I've considered using Clubhouse in the past, but and there's a video about this that we made. It's kind of the reason why I don't, but I have a problem with the audio space era that we're entering of community in the audio space, primarily because as a 10-year music professional, my hearing is crap. And I know that I am nowhere near the people in this business that have the worst hearing, let alone people out there who enjoy music but are hearing impaired. And as of yet, Clubhouse has yet to really address their accessibility issues. For a while, I didn't like it because it was only on iPhone, and then it was invite only. And while I appreciate why you do that in order to kind of drum up attention and stuff, I don't like the idea of gatekeeping. The whole reason that we do the blog and we do the podcast, we do the YouTube channel is to give all this free stuff away. And so when you start putting all these extra like moves you have to make to access information, that kind of rubs me the wrong way. And when there's this entire group of people who are left out because maybe they can't speak or they don't hear very well, that's just creating more barriers to entry for people that I don't think have to exist necessarily.
Very good points. Very good
Yeah,
points.
it's been super frustrating when I see, like, you know, the head of UMG with 3 Billboard chart topping artists talking in a Clubhouse room, and I'm like, okay, what if I'm somebody that is handicapped in any way, shape, or form, has any kind of disability that affects my speech or hearing, so I'm just not allowed to enjoy the insights that you have to share. That bothers me.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. Curtis?
I don't think I have a follow-up on that, but I'm gonna vote to change the topic. So I should
Go ahead.
Okay, go ahead. I was going to change the topic anyway too. So go ahead.
Okay. Can I skip a couple questions, Leah?
Yeah. Are you going to go to TikTok?
No, well, a little bit. It's going to be separate from TikTok. So
Okay,
James, talk about what happened today worldwide for a brief moment here. So I don't even know what the date is today, but today Facebook and Instagram both
October 4th.
October 4th, they both went in the shitter. They both went down for, I think it was like 8 or 9 hours or something stupid like that, maybe less.
And WhatsApp too.
And
Yeah.
what's
And Oculus. Yeah.
and Oculus, that's right. So basically the communication line of thousands of bands was totally tanked because a lot of them do not have anything but Facebook and Instagram platforms. So I want to get your take, because you are a social media guy. I want to get your take on what happened and how bands can prevent an issue like this happening in the future, if you have them.
Oh, totally. Well, today was weird. At
Yep.
Helix, we are when it comes to meetings, we have been for the last month and a half now a fully virtual company. So we actually use Oculus to host our work and development meetings in VR full time, which is pretty cool. And we could talk about that in a minute. But so I was getting ready for we have speed meetings Monday, Wednesday, and Friday to check in with one another. So about exactly the time it went down today is when I first noticed. And it's been an interesting day on the internet. I've noticed that a lot of labels held off on announcing things. I saw a bunch of stuff, on the Helix back end. I saw a lot of people not sending out their promos because they couldn't launch it alongside the video and blah, 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 blah. So that's been interesting, but something that I think we're going to hear a lot, that I've heard a lot today in the marketing realm, that is a phrase that I hate. And I think it has bad logic, but I understand why people are going to start promoting it, is this idea of, it's a saying that we have in marketing, which is don't build on borrowed lands, which is basically don't stake your presence on the internet on something that you don't control. Right. So there's a lot of artists that only have a Facebook account or only have an Instagram account, or that's the only way or the primary way that they interact with their fans. And then something like this happens, and through no fault of your own, your access is gone. So what happens if Facebook doesn't bounce back? Like, that's the basic idea behind don't build on borrowed lands. Yep. And I think that it's false because, and my buddy Jack Appleby pointed this out really well, is when those things come back, or when the next Facebook or the next Instagram exists, what are you going to do with the thing that you built off not borrowed lands? You're going to go to borrowed lands and you're going to ask people to come to your thing. Like, it's impossible to exist outside of those, even if you do a really good job. So the best advice that I think today really brought to the forefront, that I've always been a big proponent of, is this is why you need a mailing list. If nothing else in your catalog, you should be collecting email addresses and, if possible, phone numbers, but primarily email addresses, so that in the event that, or even if you just get sick of it, if you just get sick of Facebook, or they make some algorithm changes where you're not reaching anybody, you have a built-in list of fans that you can reach, that you can kind of activate to help spread your message out there.
I agree with that. Now, question though is, so are you trying to say that you should build them both concurrently, the email list and the borrow? Or
yeah, honestly, I think you should build them concurrently. And to take it a step further, something that we tried with Yumi and everyone we know on this album cycle, and it turned out to work really well for us, is make it known that if you sign up for the mailing list, you will get like a 48 to 72 hour notice of anything that's happening. So And then we took it a step further. So we had a mailing list already going that was doing really well. And then we got about 8 weeks out from the album and we wanted to really kick in fan involvement. Now, the mailing list was already crucial to getting the word out about this, pushing pre-orders, giving people all the links they need to share all the stuff in all the places. That's been great. But then we emailed the mailing list one more time and we said, we made it limited, though we didn't necessarily need to. We were like, we need 25 people who will commit to being on what we call the You Me Away team. And for the next 8 weeks, every week there will be an assignment of something that we need you to do or tweet about or post. And at the end of that 8-week period, everyone that's been participating will do a private listening party with the band of the new album before it comes out. So that actually turned out to be a really cool thing, because then we had our mailing list that we could empower with announcements. And then we had this other list that was like 25 just diehard people, the real, I'm going to post and share everything that this band needs me to share. And they started using the hashtag away team. And then every time the band did something, you would see on your feed, all these tweets get recommended because all these people are chiming in with memes and with all this other stuff. So that's all possible only because we were doing everything in our own space. Now, if we had tried to organize that in a Facebook group or in something else, that might have gotten really messy. It might have been hard to organize, or if Facebook went offline, who knows, we might have lost it all. But thankfully, we control our line of conversation with the fans, and that allows us to kind of build deeper relationships with them.
Now, I got one more follow-up before I let Aaliyah go back. I know I'm hogging the conversation, but I just want to get this one thing here. So the primary objection that I get, at least for bands building up their email list, is that it goes in the promo folder or in the spam folder. So can you talk about that briefly on since you're talking about mailing lists here?
Yeah. Well, I would say that for starters, mailing lists have come a long way in terms of like where they end up in inboxes based on performance and stuff.
Sure.
Also, it's about the service that you're using. Now, if I'm a band and I ask my publicist, no offense, you guys, who I maybe would use for a mailing list, most of them will probably recommend MailChimp, but that's not necessarily what MailChimp is meant to do. But they could use something like Ghost or Substack or Tiny Letter that is meant to be a mailing list platform. It's meant to be just that, newsletters, subscriptions, stuff like that. Those have a much higher likelihood. Like I run a Substack called Spin Cycle, where I just write essays about music. That always lands in people's inboxes without question. Now, things that might push it to promo is if you get a lot of media in there, if you're shoving a whole bunch of embedded videos and links and stuff, that can push things to other inboxes. But if you're using a newsletter service, they have already kind of done the back end legwork to ensure that you're landing in a place where people can find the email. Because if it wasn't, their business model would crumble. But I think that's where the problem comes in, is that everyone jumps to something like MailChimp, which is really meant to be like a marketing platform. That's what it's built for. So of course your emails are going to end up in promo because it's coming from a promo service.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I didn't even think about Substack, but I'm actually writing this down in a chat with Aaliyah, so I don't forget about it for afterwards.
Well, if you go to Helix Daily, we just ran an article on like the 13 music newsletters you should follow, and I think 10 of them are on Substack, and the rest are on Ghost. So go check those out.
I will be. Aaliyah, I think I'm done with this, so I'm going to let you take back over.
Well, this is all so much great information for everyone. I hope they're listening closely and taking notes. Let's move into TikTok. I have heard you say on previous episodes that when you do your intro video, you should put in like the most popular sound and just drag down the audio to 0.
Mm-hmm.
And I was wondering, like, for niching, because I know a lot of our listeners are in kind of niche genres. We're not like popular, universally appealing music. So I was wondering would it be a good idea or not to put in a track of a similar band of you and pull that volume down?
Oh, totally. Absolutely. If you can look through the sound library on TikTok, actually shows you the trending sounds. So you can kind of look through there and see if there's something that fits. Or maybe the trick is to find a trending sound that isn't necessarily music, but is some type of meme format that's growing in popularity, and make it into something that applies to yourself. Does that make sense? So like right now, there's this Bo Burnham sound I keep hearing. That's it's from this special he did a few years ago where he's singing a generic country song, and the line is something like "a girl in the field in flannel with her arms outstretched," and the punchline is that's a scarecrow. So the meme format is that sound plays, and the first thing is like, You know, I can't help eating grapes every single day. And then the next one would be, it's an addiction. You know what I mean? Like the kind of the two things, but there are a lot of little meme jokey sounds on TikTok that go very popular. And if you can apply that to your field, that's good. But it's funny that you brought up TikTok, because tomorrow's video on our YouTube channel is actually going to be all about getting on the TikTok For You page, which I guess is where everybody dreams of like ending up. So this is a good time to have this conversation. I think, you know, I had a band actually comment on YouTube today and say that my advice for TikTok wasn't working for them because they were a symphonic metal band. And I was like, of course you are. There's always one person who's like, I play trash cans and I can't make this normal social media tool work for me. But what I found, especially the longer I'm on TikTok, is that algorithm is real good, real smart. So as long as you're using effective hashtags and you are, you know, embracing the niche that I would say your music falls into, there is a community for you and you will find it. Plus, TikTok is always kind of behind the scenes servicing you to people in your area. So if you are especially a smaller band that's trying to build regional clout, there's also an angle in there where you should explore that. Because like I live in Michigan, I would say 75% of the TikToks I see are from people in Michigan, Ohio, Indiana, or Illinois for whatever reason. It's just kind of regionally like that. So imagine if you're a band in the middle of nowhere trying to build your following on TikTok, you can always reference that you're a symphonic metal band. You can use the sounds, do that. But maybe you could make a whole series out of what a metal band does in Des Moines, Iowa, or something like that. You know, something where you would really be touching onto regional hotspots. People would recognize them and be like, oh my gosh, this band is from where I'm from. Who are they? What's going on there?
You know what's amazing is a symphonic metal band, and she's TikTok. So you probably just gave her some salt.
I am on TikTok, although we haven't really used it yet too much. Not at all, actually. We just put one video on there. We did the, you familiar with Barstool?
Yeah.
The one bite pizza reviews. We had a video of our guitarist doing a one bite pizza review of the pizza in Hollywood Casino Amphitheater while Megadeth was playing.
Nice.
So it was fun.
If I can just run through a couple of quick TikTok tips while we're here, and we'll just go on.
Let's do it.
All right. First thing, I'll just run through like the outline for this video tomorrow. So first piece of advice is always like with any social platform to post at peak times. So the thing with TikTok is these algorithms are pretty specific. So there isn't like on Instagram, it used to be like people would be like, if you post at 3:00 on Tuesday, that's a really good time to go viral on Instagram. It doesn't work like that on TikTok because the algorithms are too specific to individuals. So instead, what you need to do is if you go into your settings, you can switch your account from a regular account to what they call a pro account. That's a creator account or a business account. And once you're able to do that as a user, it'll start giving you insights, it'll give you the insights of at what times your things are performing the best. So you will actually know your specific time when your posts tend to perform the most likely. Other than that, using hashtags, of course, is really good. If you haven't played on TikTok with hashtags very much, like if you search, let's say, if you go to add a hashtag, it pulls up a little search bar, you type in science, it's going to give you, just like Instagram, it'll show you a whole bunch of science related hashtags, and it'll also show you how many views they have. And it's always a good trick to kind of mix the super popular one like hashtag science with something a little bit more specific like everyday science or science class or, you know, science teacher, something like that. But in this case, we would do symphonic metal rules, metalheads, blah, 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 blah. Hop on trends. We've already talked about that one. Being creative in your niche, I think is pretty cool. I saw this dentist the other day. I don't know how I got on dentist talk. Maybe it's because I've had a lot of root canals recently and the algorithm's just like figuring that out about me. But I saw this, I was on dentist talk the other day, as I like to call it. And I saw a video by a woman who uploads videos ranking how bad different things are for your teeth. And she's a dentist, but like she has like worst candy for your teeth, worst soda for your teeth, worst sports drinks for your teeth. So like that's an example of like saying what she does for a living, but not making her videos about that thing necessarily, where it's like, oh, she's smart about this. So again, to apply that to the world of music, you know, maybe you have a guitar, like you could rank guitar players, you can rank bass players, you can rank albums in your genre. You can talk about the 5 most influential albums in your genre, the first time you fell in love with music. The amount of like angles there are pretty endless. And then finally, I always say play with length, because it used to be that most TikTok videos are watched for like 11 to 14 seconds or something like that. But now with the 3-minute TikToks, I have been fooled into watching 3-minute TikToks that go absolutely nowhere because they are so riveting that I want to know what happens. So I also think that that's something that you need to play with if you want to end up on the For You page, because you never really know when you're going to find that perfect mix of content, idea, length of video, sound, and time, where it's all going to come together just right. So, just play with it a bit more than Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, or anything else. TikTok's a place where you almost have to play to figure out how to do it well.
How much time should you be playing on it though before you kind of go like, this isn't working anymore?
That's a good question. I think that's up for everybody. I think if you start feeling like it's a chore, then it's time to give up on it. Or maybe it just goes to the back seat for a while. Also, I mean, don't feel bad. Maybe you post the same exact content on Instagram's Reels and it takes off on Reels. Maybe you move from TikTok over to Reels. It does better there. Again, it's about kind of trial and error to figure out where your audience is and what they want to look at. I think, though, that if you really click around on TikTok, especially if you are trying to start looking up the genres that you exist in as hashtags, the algorithm is going to learn that you are looking up those things and that you're watching videos in that field, and you will just slowly kind of get pulled into it. It's a good way to figure out what's popular right there.
Fair. I like it.
Yeah, we had an experience like that on the Stay Squared TikTok, didn't we?
We did actually, and I think it was your video, if I'm not mistaken, that did really good on there, but it just tanked on Instagram versus another one. It didn't tank, but it didn't do as good as on Instagram. But another one we did tanked on TikTok, but did great on Instagram. So
we don't know exactly why.
We have no idea. Oh, your question, Olivia.
My question.
Yep, your question.
We can move into the more casual topics unless you have something else you want to ask about, Curtis.
I actually do. I want to do one more marketing question with James before we move into casual Friday questions here. So, okay. How do you have any advice on Reels itself, since you brought up the topic, or no?
The thing about Reels, I always tell people, if you were trying to decide, do I use TikTok or do I use Reels to start? I always go TikTok, because for me, and this is very basic level, but if you think about it, this is how UI works, user behavior works across all platforms. Mm-hmm. If I open TikTok, I see TikToks. That's it. I open it up, I'm looking at content. It actually opens on the For You page. It's not even, or the Explore page. It's not even opening up on like somebody's subscriptions. It's just showing you random content. So the highest likelihood that I'm going to see something I've never seen before is Reels. But if I open up Instagram, I got to click a button and then click another button to get my way to Reels. And then you got to find the kind of Reels you're looking for. Like in my case, I work in music. I talk about music all day long. I also have a very chubby pit bull. My Instagram For You Reels page is just chubby pit bulls. It has not figured out that I also like music. And I think that that's part of the design of Instagram. Its algorithms are more interested in your lifestyle. It's built to connect families and friends, and yes, businesses use it, but again, it's all about that lifestyle, and promoting yourself as an artist doesn't necessarily fit into that unless you're making lifestyle content.
Fair enough. Okay, I think I'm done with the marketing questions for tonight.
Okay. I heard you mention on a previous podcast that you had opened a venue for, how long was that, and how did that happen?
Yeah, when I was in high school, so I guess the duration of high school, 4 years, I ran a venue in my hometown of Constantine, Michigan. I learned in civics class in 7th or 8th grade that every town has a budget, and you can ask for money from the town's budget if it's something that's available for disbursement, and make a pitch. So I learned that my town of Constantine, a very tiny town, had a budget of, I don't know, $5,000 or $10,000 annually for entertainment. Now, we live in a farming community. Our town doesn't have entertainment. We might have like a fall. We don't even have parades. I don't even know what I'm trying to like lie to you about. We had nothing. They light candles at the churches at Christmas. Like that's what the budget was going to. So I was thinking, oh, there must be money here that's not being used. So I just petitioned the town to give me, I think it was $3,000 to reopen a venue that had previously existed when I first moved there when I was 10 years old with my parents. They had taken me to like this youth center / venue hangout place. And we got the money from the city, and it was enough money to open the venue, I think, and keep the lights on and pay for the sound and all that for, I think, like a month or maybe 2 months with like 3 shows. And I booked my closest friends and bands who, of course, went to the same school as me, and we would sell out the venue at like $10 a pop. So those 3 first shows all went well enough that it kind of just became a forward momentum machine where as long as we kept selling tickets, we could hold another show. And I did
And
that
so-
until I went to college.
Okay. Did you hand that off to somebody else or did you just shut it down?
No, we did one final show that was like an all-day outdoor show with like more bands than usual, and it was not that great attended, to be perfectly honest. And I think after that, there just wasn't anybody else in my school that was interested in music business in that way. So like there wasn't somebody for it to fall on. So the couple just sold the building, and now I drive by it and it's like an auto garage or something.
What do you think is like the most important thing you learned from that experience?
I think the most important thing I learned from that experience was really just the amount of almost unspoken kindness that the music business requires until you reach a certain level. Like I believe that I'm sure Post Malone and Travis Scott and any like Billboard chart toppers are nice enough in their own ways. But when you're working in a venue with a capacity below 500 people, where nobody works there full time, and all the touring bands are either regional bands or newbies on independent record labels, you really gotta lean on one another to make not only shows happen, but like bands have a place to sleep, bands have things to eat. You can, pay the sound guy something for all of his trouble. Somebody has to sweep the floor at the end of the night because you can't afford a janitor. Like the idea of really embodying that DIY spirit with a sense of empathy, I think is the greatest lesson you can learn in any aspect of music.
Cool.
That's great. Yeah. I know. I mean, I think, I don't know if this is every musician, but sometimes I have thought about, opening a venue. Just, it's something that plays around in the back of the mind sometimes, but I know it's a lot of work. So.
Yeah, I mean, right now, my current project, my dream, if I could do anything right now, it would be to open a new vinyl pressing plant, because we all on this call at least know how bad vinyl delays are right now.
Sure, for sure.
And I have a friend that's looked into it, but the money is not there. I mean, I don't know if I could do what I did with that venue again today. It would require me to be the old person that's like doing it for free to help a kid. I don't know why that couple agreed to it. It was very nice of them. But like we looked into opening a vinyl plant because that's something that the music industry desperately needs right now. And the startup cost alone would be about $300,000. And let me tell you, as much as the industry wants more records faster, not a lot of people willing to give you $300,000 to solve that problem. So we're, I don't know what we're going to do about that front. But if anyone out there is listening and is trying to find a way to start their own business in music, might I suggest vinyl manufacturing? Or according to a story I read in, was it Billboard this morning, there's also a merch shortage right now. So you might want to get into merchandising.
Yeah, I mean, that might have to do with the supply chain issues in the apparel industry. I work at a warehouse for Blank Apparel supplier, and basically every brand was talking about supply chain issues. They don't have the textiles, they don't have the yarn, they don't have the people to sew the yarn. So it's who knows how far this goes.
Absolutely. This is actually a great learning moment for artists, though. This Billboard article blew my mind. There's a story in it about this artist, Ty Verde, who I might be butchering his name. He went viral on TikTok last year, has like a handful of singles, got a major deal, played Coachella, went on his first tour ever, opening of 3 acts, right? And the label was like, well, he's a TikTok star. He doesn't have an album out. We probably won't do that much merch. So they didn't order much, thinking, he's the opening act. Everyone's going to spend money on everything else. And all they did was 1 hoodie and 1 t-shirt design. And they ended up selling 200 hoodies a day for the first 3 dates, completely sold out of hoodies. On the 4th day, they sold out of shirts. And the label was like, don't worry, we'll just go ahead and order some more to get to the next city. And then it took 3 weeks for the order to come in.
Wow.
So then they played New York, Boston, Chicago, everywhere between those cities and South, and he had no merch and made no money.
That's awful.
So, if there's a lesson in there, if you're planning on going out this fall, it's to plan ahead in that way. If you can get a merch order, maybe go big, go a little bigger, because you don't know if you can get another one. Also, Good luck finding mediums and larges in most of the nice styles, comfort colors, American Apparel.
Yep.
I could talk merch problems all day, but yes, it's a nightmare right now.
Well, why don't you talk merch problems for a few minutes? And what do you think are the biggest issues there?
Well, I think right now it's the available of quality fabric. I think that, I've been going to a lot of shows. I don't know about you guys. I've been pretty hardcore back into concerts, and I have seen a surprising amount of artists that I feel like a lot of rock artists are starting to get back into traveling with 5, 6, 7 shirt designs like all of a sudden again. And I have to believe that that is like a side effect of these shortages in a way where people are like so desperate to make sure they have enough merch that they're like, all right, you only have 300 white. Okay, what other colors do you have? How do I print a design on one of the colors you have available?
Mhm.
I went to something the other day, the Black Dahlia Murder Tour, that also has Undeath and a bunch of artists on it. Every band had 5 or 6 designs, and I think every single band was sold out of medium, large, and extra large across the board.
Damn.
Wow. That's I have a quick question on something totally disrelated, if we can jump into
go
that.
ahead.
So I noticed something, and I kept meaning to bring this up to you, and I forgot when we were talking about the marketing thing, but it popped back into my head. You did an article, I just found it because I was looking for it because it popped in my head. I think it was a few weeks ago, where you had tested out a different promo service, and I'm just kind of curious why you did that, since you are the Helix guy.
Yeah. Okay. That's a good question. So yeah, there's a video on YouTube. There's an article for it too, but the article is just the video written out basically. I tried this promo service called Zyre, and Zyre is one of those services that you see in your Instagram stories a lot. I don't know if you guys get them. I get ads for music promo stuff all the time.
I'm looking at it now due to your article.
Yeah. So Zyre is like, there are a few of these companies, and I just kept seeing them. These companies that would be like, for as little as $10 a day, we can help you get ads in Rolling Stone and get Spotify playlist placement, all this stuff.
Yeah.
And as an industry veteran and as a person with common sense, I know that that's not true. I've been around long enough to know that never works. But a part of me was like, somebody is spending a lot of money on this ad. They're pouring money into this. So people have to be signing up. So I had this thought where I was like, why don't I just do it? Like, let's just try. So I went to their website, and sure enough, it was like $25 to run a campaign, minimum investment, $25. I was like, sure enough, I'll kiss $25 goodbye, no problem. And I was working with Yumi on the album at that time. We had just put out the first single. So I was like, all right, this is the perfect test. Let's, pick the new single, choose all the genres, and then let's see what happens. So you give Zyre $25, you choose your song, you make sure that it's the right album information and everything. You tell it what genres you want it to be in. And then Zyre on the back end, and this is how a lot of these companies work, is they will create dozens or even more ads for you. Google ads, any kind of ad for you possible, social ads. And these ads will have generic artwork. So it doesn't have the artwork of the single. It has like a picture of a CD or a picture of headphones or somebody listening to music, and it says like, check out the new song from this person, or they're geolocated ads, and it'll be like, Boston, you need to hear this alternative hit. And the ads are whatever, they look okay, but I was like, you know what, we're trying to figure out what happens. This is how this company does business. You can't change any of the artwork. So I was like, we just got to run with it, let it do what it does. They're the experts, that's what they should be doing. So I ran the ad for a week, I think. And then it gives you your analytics, and it's really bold of these companies to show you your analytics. I think they just assume that people don't know how to read analytics sheets for the most part, because if you look at just like the views, I probably had like 2 million views, but if I looked at the clicks, it was like less than 100 across every single ad. And then when you started looking at the websites where the ads ran, it was like, one of them was like, one of the top sites where the ad ran was purevolume.com. I don't know if you've been there in a decade, but Pure Volume doesn't even write about music anymore. And a lot of the sites that it was saying the ad was running on were sites that hadn't been updated in at least a year. And then it would say it was on Rolling Stone, but it was on like Rolling Stone Australia or Rolling Stone Puerto Rico or Rolling Stone Serbia. And it would have like one click, and you're like, okay, so one person in Serbia clicked an ad on Rolling Stone, but based on the Spotify information, they never actually listened to the song. They just clicked the ad. And so you're like, so at the end of this, I think after $25 a week and whatever it was, like 2 million views, I think we had like 34 clicks and like 23 plays that we had earned for $25. And I still to this day get emails from Zyre almost every week that's like, come back for your next promo. We're waiting for you. If you're ready to do it again, let's go. And I'm like, you guys didn't give me anything. And I think that it's really, you really know that it's a joke because we posted that video. We named them in the video. We show all the screenshots of how their platform works. The article is like that. Hypebot shared it. Reddit shared it. Zaire has never commented on it. They never emailed me. They never contacted me. They're just pretending like it doesn't exist, which is the truest sign that it's probably true.
Yeah, I'm surprised. Sorry, Liv.
Just agreeing that that's pretty shady.
And I'm glad I did it. I still get ads like that. And I think I'll probably try some more in the future. There's a service right now that people, so before we did the Zaire video, the same month, the month of January this year, I did 31 videos in 31 days. Just to see, just as a content experiment for the channel. I wanted to see if it changed growth, but also to kind of figure out what kind of videos people want to see, you know, what's works. And the best way to do that is just to create a bunch of content and see what happens. We did another one that same month about scams in the industry. And these are much more generic, like, you know, the A&R that emails you asking you for $500 to pitch your song off the chain. And ever since that video and the Zaire one, not a week goes by that I don't get emails from people that are just sending me spam or sending me like the scams that they find on Instagram or whatever. People will be like, is this real? And it's from like Next Big Thing Music LLC. And I'm like, I don't think nobody, this isn't real. Or they'll be like, this guy DM'd me on Instagram. He has 500 followers, but he says he wants to give me a $10,000 deal. And I'm like, it's not. No, he doesn't exist. It's just they're out there. They're a dime a dozen, and I do take some pleasure in exposing them. I hope that I can save people from spending money because I hate people that try to take advantage of musicians or artists in general.
I got one last quick thing. I'm thinking Aaliyah's probably getting short on time. Maybe not. I don't know. But
I'm okay, but yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay. So I got one more thing on this. So what would you say would be the most common scam you've run across that people fall for?
That's a tough one. I do run across a lot of the A&R scam. Usually it's Universal. It's UMG is the company that people are saying they're associated with. It's so easy these days. They're just a subsidiary of UMG. It's usually what it says. My advice is always just if somebody emails you something like that, there's a 99.9% chance that the signature is going to include or the PDF will include a phone number. Because they want it to look professional. There's always a number. Just call it. Just call the number and ask for whoever it is. Like I saw one the other day for somebody at Universal, and the number looked legit. And when you called it, it was like laundromat and Yonkers. And
nice.
So this person is just filling it out. Who's going to call, right? So that's that one's pretty popular. And then these Instagram ad scams. Spotify playlist placement is probably the most popular one, but it's all just a version of Zaire. We're going to make ads for you without you having to do anything, and we'll take your money and get you a lot of views. I mean that's the key. Another key thing on it though too that I've also noticed is like the cheaper it is, the less likely it is to be legit. Like a lot of those promo services will be like, pay us $10, like you said, and we'll get 1 million views. Everything. But I mean, reversely, if someone's telling you to pay them $1,000, it doesn't necessarily mean it's legit either. That's something that we talk about at Helix a lot. We talk about our pricing strategy a lot. You don't want to undersell yourself. You also don't want to oversell yourself. It's tricky, but instinctively as humans, we know when something is too good to be true. So you just got to learn to trust that.
Exactly. Now, on that note, I do want to make one point. I have had it where I thought something was a scam. A guy claiming to be a well-known A&R had reached out to a former client of mine on Facebook, of all places, claiming that he was this A&R and that he was going to actually help them. And guess what? It was actually legit. But that is probably the one time I've ever actually seen this actually happen. And 99.9% of the time, it is not the case at all. Aaliyah, you must have a follow-up on that one.
No, I mean, well, I feel like if people just do one step of verification, they'll usually find out if it's legit or not. Like you said, just call the phone number, do something to verify that this is
Google the name of the company or person who emailed you.
Absolutely. Google, is this a scam? Like a lot of times you'll find out.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And also check with other people in the industry as well. I always do that. I'm always asking people, have you heard of this person? Do you know anything about them? And I'll ask like maybe 6 or 7 people, and you always find out one way or the other. What else do we want to touch on, Aaliyah?
I'm not sure how familiar, well, you're pretty familiar with everything music business related. So I was wondering if you have a suggestion on Spotify playlist pitching. Do you think people should just do that manually, or are there any services that are legitimate?
I'm actually currently investigating a website that offers Spotify playlist database for, I want to say it's like $15 a month or some nonsense. I don't think I don't, from what I hear, it's not real. There's like 3 or 4 right now. So I just Googled it to be sure. So there's SoundPlate, there's Playlist MM, there's playlistsearch.io, there's Spotify Plugger, there's Playlist Radar, playlist.net. I would say 99% of them are false. Now, I've written articles in the past about how to find with like guaranteed playlisters. And the thing is like there are a handful of people who do it and really love getting emails about it. But most people that have lists don't expect to get inundated with emails. So if you find one that's on like some public Spotify playlist thing, you have to assume that like everyone has found that person's email address. Because I get DMs on Facebook from people who will be like, will you please remove me from this post? Because I'm tired of getting people asking me things. And as we all in this call know, just because a playlist says I put bedroom pop onto a playlist, they're getting emails from death metal bands and rappers and everyone that does anything except bedroom pop. So it's the chaos of that is just too messy. I think the best path is to do your own research, and use Spotify's tools for pitching their official playlist, because if you can get into any of those, that's always useful. And I also recommend doing some Reddit searching. I'm a big proponent of Reddit and Facebook groups, but Reddit for this purpose specifically, because you could do like a Google search of like, check out my pop punk playlist, Reddit, that whole phrase, and you will find a whole bunch of posts from people who are maintaining pop punk playlists on Spotify that you could then contact.
One thing I also want to point out about that is also like you talking about the public playlist, about the public guides for them. 99.9% of the time, at least anytime I've ever checked these things out, they all just tell you to use Submit Hub anyway. Generally. So you're paying $80, $50, whatever for a bunch of playlist names that just say use Submit Hub anyway. So I mean, you're better off just giving Submit Hub the $25, $30.
True. If I could take this is completely unrelated, but it made me think of it because I just said Facebook and Reddit. Something that I've been seeing a lot lately for marketing for bands that can do cover songs, especially if you can do it acoustically or on a piano or something. As a journalist, I'm always looking for new ways to get more people to look at my stuff. And over the last year, the best way to get anyone to look at anything is Facebook groups. Like I love Jason Isbell. He has a great presence online everywhere. His Facebook group, his private fan Facebook group has like 12,000 people in it. If you post in there, it's going to do numbers. So I've also seen a few artists recently, some who have actually gone on to tour with Jason Isbell and others, start by finding the official fan club on Facebook or the biggest one, joining, and then making a post that's like, oh my God, I'm a big fan of Brooks and Dunn as well. Here's my cover of Neon Moon. And then you have 10,000 Brooks and Dunn fans who are suddenly like, this is really good. Then maybe they'll come to your show next time you're in wherever they are that they live. So as a freebie, that has been an amazing way to boost engagement over the last year.
Cool. Well, I think I'm pretty much wrapped up on questions for the night. How about you, Aaliyah?
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's about all I have.
Oh, I have something cool to tell you guys. I have not told either one of you before now. A couple of things. We have a big Helix update coming out this weekend. The whatever Friday is, the 8th, I guess. With some really cool features. But more importantly, as I've been testing these new features, which involve some fixes to downloads and streaming, but also this thing we call a universal link that'll generate a link preview if you post it on Facebook or Twitter or something like that. So if you wanted to make a public link to something and you wanted to share it somewhere, you would actually get one of those cool little picture pop-up things. I've been actually exclusively using the Lutharo promo that you guys are currently promoting.
Yes.
Nice.
It's a good record, and we have on the test server, it's been downloaded about 600 times.
Wow.
It has become my default test because it is a very well built promo. It has everything I need in it. There's songs, there's videos, there's pictures, there's links, there's text, there's bolding. You have everything in there. It's a good looking promo. So for the last, I don't know, 5 weeks or so, I have looked at this promo every single day of my life.
That's awesome.
So there you go.
Holly's going to be proud of herself. She's the one that wrote that promo up and built it up. So she's going to be like walking around like a peacock when she gets this interview.
And while we're talking about C Squared people, we are adding the genres that the C Squared team asked us to add. Classical and symphonic or whatever it was.
Yeah. It was.
You'll be able to copy paste text without losing your links and everything.
Cool.
Oh, nice.
Awesome.
So all that is coming out on Friday, plus a bunch more Friday night. All that's coming out Friday night, plus a bunch more coming soon to Helix. And then the next thing after that is we have season 3 of High Notes finishes at the end of this month. And our other Helix podcast, Inside Music, which hasn't been as active lately, is going to officially end at episode 250 before the end of the year. So that's what's on the horizon.
Awesome. So Aaliyah, you want to give us a send off?
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone, until next time, make like a bull and throw those horns up.